What is up, my beautiful people? Hope you're having a wonderful day. Exile451 here with yet another daily dose of Reddit Happy. Let's get started with some stories from r/random acts of kindness. Haven't been there for a little while, which means there's plenty of stuff to go through, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. I spent my Monday evening at the local police department, helping to reunite a family. It was my last day at work, as the season is over. I work a seasonal job. My boss let me go home an hour early as a thank you for all my hard work this summer. I stop at a gas station on the way back since it'll be my last opportunity to get cheap gas. While at the station, I notice a tall, elderly gentleman walking around asking for directions from several people. He looked well dressed and had well-kept hair, so didn't seem to be homeless. He talks to the attendant who's filling my tank before walking down the road a ways to try and get a ride from someone else leaving the station. The attendant tells me the dude is really confused and doesn't seem to know where he is. I tell the attendant maybe we should call the police for a welfare check, but the attendant seems hesitant. During this time, there's an absolutely massive thunderstorm rolling in, which I drive through on my way back from work. Hail, pouring rain, lightning, you name it. It was so bad, I passed at least a half dozen vehicles pulled over to the side of the road because they simply couldn't see the road in those conditions. I absolutely did not want to leave this confused man out in that weather. As I'm getting my tank filled, the man walks off down the highway and out of sight. I tell myself I'll drive down the highway, and if I spot him, I'll check on him and see if I can help. I pull out of the gas station and spot him almost immediately, so I pull over and offer him a ride. He thanks me and gladly accepts the ride. He smells showered and his clothes are spotless and clean, so I'm positive at this point he isn't homeless. I ask if he knows where he lives or if he has an address I can take him to. He says he lives only a few blocks away but can't remember the exact address and just says, "I'll know the road when I see it." I drive down the highway in the direction he indicates and strike up a conversation. He can hold a conversation and talk steadily. No slurring or stuttering, and he isn't dozing off, so going off my first aid training, I don't think he's had a stroke. We drive for a bit and he's all, "Just a little further, it's up this way, I know it." And at this point, we're leaving town and driving towards the next one. My step-grandmother has late-stage dementia, and I grew up around her slowly losing her memory. My passenger seems to be exhibiting key signs of memory loss, and after a bit of driving, he still can't tell me where to turn. And having dealt with my grandma, I know people with memory loss can get aggressive if they get upset. So I just kept him talking, kept him happy, locked the doors to keep him in the car, and secretly put in the directions to the nearest police station. I convince him to come into the police station with me and explain to the dispatcher behind the counter how I found him. The dispatcher calls the town's PD to see if anyone has reported him missing. The man knew his name, but that was about it. He says his name is James. An officer comes out and talks to us, quickly realizes he can't get any useful information out of the gentleman, and is worried the man may have had a stroke, hence his confusion. They roll medics, and then we get a call back from the other PD, and his daughter, Amy, has reported him missing and is on her way to get him. Medics arrive, and he has high blood pressure, low blood sugar, and his confusion is more noticeable with all the medics around him. But he isn't exhibiting signs of a stroke. No slurred speech, good strong grip, no sagging/paralyzed muscles. We also get some hazy answers from James, who says he thinks he may be diabetic and he might take medication to prevent strokes, but he isn't sure. Wait a bit for his daughter to arrive, and the poor medics and police officers really don't know how to keep a conversation with someone who has memory loss. So I sit by James and talk and make him laugh and generally keep him happy and occupied. James keeps telling me how I'm such a nice young woman for taking care of him, and I remind him a lot of his daughter. The officer who's heading the situation gives me a silent look of thanks for keeping James busy. His daughter arrives and she looks like she's in her 40s, just barely keeping it together. She's really trying hard to not let her voice crack or have tears of worry spill out. She's so relieved though, and can't stop thanking me. I give her a hug, several actually, and tell her where I found him. Apparently, he has memory loss, but it's in its early stages, and he goes for evening walks before dinner unsupervised because he only walks a couple blocks and comes right back. He's never wandered off like this. He also does have diabetes and takes medication for strokes he's had in the past. So me finding him when I did likely helped prevent something more serious from happening. I could have called the police to do a welfare check and given them a description of the man and hoped he wouldn't wander too far away before they found him. But the whole situation took less than 45 minutes, and I was able to keep James out of the severe weather and away from other people who might have taken advantage of him, or risk him going into diabetic shock or a stroke without someone being there for him. If it had been my step-grandmother, I would have wanted someone with her the whole time to keep her safe and happy, and I'm glad I was able to reunite James with his daughter. Well, OP, I'm glad you were too. That is such a kind, generous, amazing thing to do, to go that far out of your way to help a complete and random stranger like that. And not only were you helping him, but also helping his daughter and the family that loved him that were probably missing him. It's amazing just how even small acts like that can have such a profound impact in the long run. You did a great thing and very well might have saved his life. You're a good person for doing so. Not everyone would have done that. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and thank you just for being a decent human being. Happened to run out of gas at the right place in time. I ran out of gas this morning on my way to work. My motorcycle doesn't happen to have a gas gauge, but it does have a reserve tank, so not a big deal. It takes a few minutes for the reserve tank to trickle in. So I'd pulled over to sit and wait for that to happen after my tank went out. In the same place that I pulled in was a white SUV. After I arrived, the woman in the SUV explained that she was lost, her phone was dead, and she was on her way to teach students at her new job. This was not a popular place to pull over. It was on a back road, pulled into the parking lot of some empty building. I simply showed her in the direction to go on my phone, and she thanked me and went on her way. Once I did this, my motorcycle was ready and I was on my way. Lady, wherever you are, the universe has plans for you. Something pulled me into that parking lot for 3 minutes, and I think it was for you. Hope you teach the future leaders of our nation. Well, that's a short story, but it is a good one. And OP, you never know when and where you're going to find the chance to help someone, even if it's just something as small as showing them how to get to their new job. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for just being willing to help. Customer with cancer. This was about 2 years ago. I did water conditioning for a living and had a service call to this customer's house. I walked in and he was telling me that his reverse osmosis system was leaking and that he disassembled it so it could be cheaper for me to fix. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It actually would take me longer to fix. His RO system frame was badly rotted, and by removing the hoses, he created more leaks. The system was 19 years old, and I explained to him everything and told him that I would need to rebuild it or replace it. Now, our reverse osmosis RO systems are hand/custom built for each customer, from the membrane type all the way down to the types of filters and order in which the water hits each filter. They cost up to $1,400 brand new, but last for years. Back to the customer. So I'm talking to him. I like to get to know my customers. And notice oxygen tanks and pill bottles everywhere and ask him, what's up with the medical supplies? He told me he's fighting cancer and him and his wife have been trying to save as much money as possible for her to survive and pay the medical bills in case he didn't make it. Him and his wife were pushing about late 60s, early 70s, and she had to go back to working. So I told the man to let me take his system back to my shop and see what I could do for him because it would be cheaper for me to work on it there where I have everything in hand. He agreed and I gathered up all the scattered parts and brought his system back to the shop. Back at the shop, I showed my coworker the RO system and he kind of laughed and agreed that it was too rotted to fix. So I explained to him what was going on with the customer, and we both came to the conclusion that his 10-year warranty on the system was not expired. We grabbed the customer's OE design and built him a brand new system, went back to the customer's house the next day, and installed it. When I asked the customer to sign the invoice, he didn't see a price and asked me how much it cost. I told him that it was a manufacturer defect and that the RO system just fell apart like that and that there was no charge. Him and his wife both teared up and gave me a hug. It was then that I found out that they used the RO drinking water to mix some of his medications and were worried that it would cost them an arm and a leg to get it fixed. They thanked me a lot, and I went on my way. That's a sweet story, OP. I'm not looking to debate the politics about medical costs or anything else here, just want to really kind of focus on what your story's about. But the fact you were willing to go out of your way and do something so kind for people that were really just kind of skirting the edges, that were just kind of barely making it by because they were trying to brace for the worst, speaks so much about the character of you and your coworker. It would have been easy, and you would have been well within your rights to have charged them for a new system. No one would have faulted you for that. And yet you guys went out of your way to do something extremely kind for them. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for being a wonderful, decent human being, willing to just help someone in need. That speaks so highly of you, and I truly wish you the best. That was r/random acts of kindness, and if you want more, feel free to check out the playlist in the description below. Thank you so much for coming by and watching the video. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe so you can get more of your daily dose of Reddit Happy. Now you go out there, have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then, I'm Exile451. Stay beautiful, people.